boys, Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. I'm so glad you're here. You know, I like when you drop in the shop, and every time you drop in the shop makes my day better. So I hope I make your day a little bit better too when you drop in and have a look. So thanks very much. You know, I've been doing YouTube for, this is my 8th season, and I make 2 videos a week. So, you know, you do the math. That's a lot of videos over the past 7+ years. And today is the first day since I started doing YouTube that I don't have an idea for a project to do, a topic. You know, I was thinking, like, what could I do? You know, well, I could do, it's getting into the fall, it's time to start putting the attachments away. I could do a video on putting my attachments away, but I did that before. Then, well, you know, I could run the landscape rake around the property because it sure needs to be cleaned up for the snow flies, make sure I know where everything is so when I'm plowing, I don't plow over it. But I've also done a video about landscape rake before, so it's the end of the mowing season. I could clean up the Husqvarna lawn tractor there and, you know, put that away, clear the deck and everything, but I've done that before too. I've done that a couple of different times, so couldn't do that one either. So I don't know, you know, what am I going to do a video on? So I was sitting there in the camp and Nanny said to me, you know, it's been almost 2 years now since we had our septic system pumped out. We should pump out the septic system before winter. And I thought, now there's a video I haven't done before. You know, I'm going to call the guy to come and pump out the septic system, but I'm not going to video that because he doesn't want to be on video, and I appreciate that. But what I'd like to do though is just show you where my septic tank is located and how we're going to go about cleaning it. And maybe a good topic for this video, because I haven't done it before, would be just talk about some of the things that we do around here at the camp because of our isolated location and, you know, having to kind of look after a lot of things on our own. So if you're interested, come on along. I'm going to show you my septic tank. Now there's a good topic for a video. Okay, as you can see, the lake is just right there. Down in the boathouse, you know, way down there. When I built the boathouse, before I built it, I dug a pit underneath the boathouse. The pit's about 6 feet deep, and I put some concrete, 30-inch diameter concrete well-crock in that pit, and I put a cover on it. And what happens then is the pit that I dug is about 10 feet or so away from the edge of the lake, and that pit fills with water. So I can pump water from that pit. It rarely freezes. Sometimes, and I even had it set up one time where I could either pump from the pit that's beneath the boathouse, or I could put a line in the lake and pump out of the lake. And we used to use that for water for, well, we still do. We use that for water for the outside, for watering the gardens, washing the vehicles, you know, things like that. Because we wanted to use the camp like all year. We wanted to be here in the wintertime. So right from the right front corner of the boathouse, there was a trench dug that came right up this bank all along here. And this deck wasn't here at the time. It came right under the corner of the deck, and then it takes a swoop off here to the left, and it goes in under the camp. So we could pump water from down at the lake. We could pump it all the way up here to the camp and have running water in the camp. And because the pump and everything was located in the boathouse, or before the boathouse, I just had a little pump house down there, but it was all insulated and heated, so I had water 12 months of the year. So that was great. And then when I built the shop, where my line went in under the camp here, I dug another trench. I dug this one all the way over, across here, over to the shop, and that was before I had built the bike shed on the edge of the shop here. So that line comes in the shop, and I'll just show you where that is. And what's in this line is power running over to the camp, or to the shop, I mean. Power feed to the shop. Well, I guess you're not going to see much because it's so dark. But down in here, I've got power feed to the shop, and then I've got a water line in there. Also, those are 4-inch PVC lines. I put a second one in that's just empty. So I've got 2 of those 4-inch lines running from the shop here back under the camp. And my idea there was, one day I thought I might like to put septic out here, a toilet. So that means I have that line free. If I ever put a toilet out here, then the septic from the toilet, the waste from the toilet, could run back over under the shop and connect to the septic system, because it slopes from the shop back to the camp. So that was going to work good. So that was something I thought maybe I might use someday. And then because it runs back over there, it was easy then for me to tie that, if I wanted to, tie that into the septic system. So let's go look at the septic system now. When we were building the camp, there was lots of storage, you know, like, oh, I just put a tank in, it'll work, don't worry, just get an old 45-gallon drum, stick it in the ground with a drain from it, it'll be great. Didn't want to do that. Because we were going to be here, probably using the camp a lot, I wanted to make sure I had good septic. So anyways, in order to get my septic system put in, I had to have a qualified inspector come and engineer the system, basically is what it did. He engineered the system. So what we had to have is we had to have a 100-foot line drain, or a field, disposal field I think they call it, or something. But anyway, if you look over there on that, oh, I wish I knew the name of it, that bush over there, it's got all the white leaves and everything on it, just about, you know, just about the corner of that, along here, if you can notice in the video, the grass is a little greener. It runs right along here, and it runs out that path, and then it goes beyond that pathways almost to the property line. That's a 100-foot long level disposal field. The other thing about midway here, about where I'm standing, it tees off and comes in, and starting about right here by the edge of that flower bed, in under the lake room, is a concrete 600-gallon septic tank. So I just want to show you, when the buddy comes to pump that out, we come here and we have a gate. So we open our gate. Right? I have a wooden frame built there that goes right down to the top of the septic tank. So when he comes to pump this out, I just pop this cover off it, and then there's a concrete cover on top of the septic tank, and I lift that cover off, and then he has this big sucker hose that he puts down in there, and he sucks out all the effluent and whatnot from my septic, pumps it all out, and then we flush it good, and then we put the concrete cover back on the tank, and then we put this wooden cover back on the box, and he goes away. We're happy. So yeah, that was nice. When we first built the camp, I didn't have that box. It was just covered over with earth. So the first time I had the tank pumped, I had to dig that hole, and I thought, well, I'm not going to have to dig this every couple of years. So I cleared it out really good, and that's when I built that box around there, put the cover on it. In case anybody's never seen what the inside of or the top of a septic tank looks like, there it is right there. So we lift up that cover and we pump that tank, and when we do that, I don't like to be under here because it stinks. So that was pretty neat that my septic was located, that I was able to locate it under the deck, under the lake room, because that makes access to it easy. But it's out of sight, no one can see it. So yeah, that worked. So that's the septic system, and we're going to get that pumped hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So then the other thing I was worried about was heat. Right? How do we look after heat? Well, we live in the woods, so getting wood wasn't a big issue. Well, it was physically a hard issue. So we used to buy our wood. And you'd buy your wood and you process your wood just like a lot of people do. But then I thought, I'm going to get a heat pump. I just thought heat pumps were an efficient way to heat the camp in the winter, but also to cool the camp in the summer. It was almost like you're getting free air conditioning. So we got a heat pump. We installed our heat pump right here, and it's an 18,000 BTU heat pump. We have one head unit in the camp, and it sort of does the whole camp. To facilitate the heat pump for heating the camp, we had the wood stove, of course, but as you get older, wood takes a physical toll on you. So as you get older, I kind of wanted to get away from the wood. Plus, the wood, I love the wood heat. Nothing nicer than a wood fire. The heat off it is just incredible. It's a different, I don't know, can't explain it, different kind of heat. Just makes you feel cozy and comfy. But anyway, we got rid of the wood stove and put in a propane stove. So here's we got two 400-pound propane tanks, and we have a propane heater stove in the camp now that looks like a wood stove. The flames are nice, you know, they go around these ceramic logs that they have in the stove, and there's a glass front on it. Oh yeah, looks just like a real wood stove fire, but it doesn't feel like a wood stove fire, but it keeps the camp nice and warm, and it's not that really It's really not that hard to look at. So this was something else we had to put in to the camp. So there's our well. We had a bored well put in, and it was just a 6-inch pipe, an 8-inch pipe. No, it's a 6-inch pipe. No, it's an 8-inch pipe. Stuck in the ground there. Of course, Nanny put a garden around it. And then I thought, you know, her garden looks so nice, I'd like to build a little well house around it and make it look pretty. So we built this little well house and put that there. Just when I show you, you look at the actual well. So down inside there, I don't know how good you can see it, but there's the well casing. And this is just a box with a roof on it. I put cedar shakes on it, hoping they would turn a nice color, but all they did was get mossy. But anyway, that's that. And this is kind of like a fake crank to raise and lower the bucket. So that was a fun project to make. So what happened here was, when I was looking at a well drilled, of course drilling wells are expensive, so I wanted to make sure I had water before we started drilling. So when I called the buddy, I said, how do you know where to drill it? He said, we'll just back up the rig and start drilling. So here's a little story for you. Did you ever hear tell of witching for water? Well, Nanny can do that. She can do it with a willow tree, she can do it with an apple tree, she can do it with coat hangers. You know, she's good at it. I don't know if I can't do it. She can. Anyway, she came out with a couple of coat hangers one day, and she just kind of witched the land here, and she kind of found a little bit of water, indication that there's water right here. Not only can she find water, she can kind of estimate how deep it is. And she estimated that that water was going to be about, I think she said 80 feet deep. So anyway, when Buddy came to drill the well, this was all trees here at this time, right? I cleared a little spot here so he could back his truck in here. And if I can find a picture of it, I'll show you a picture of when he drilled the well. It was the coldest day in January he was up here drilling. But anyway, he drilled his well, and he went down, and I was talking to him, of course, and how far are you? How deep? How deep? How deep? He said, well, we're at 80 feet, getting a little water. And I kind of laughed. I said, go away, don't talk to that. He said, yeah. And I said, so, are you going to stop? How much you getting? He said, well, we're getting about, I think he told me at the time, a half a gallon a minute. And I said, I don't think that's enough, we better go deeper. So, he went deeper. He was down about 170 feet. I think it was 170 feet. And I said, how much? He said, we're getting water now. I said, how much we getting? He says, we're getting about 2 gallons a minute. And I said, no, you better go deeper, because where we were living in our last house, it wasn't in town, it was in the country. But I think I was kind of in an artesian well there, because I was getting 11 gallons a minute, if you can believe that. 11 gallons a minute. And I told him that. He says, holy die, I never heard tell of that before. And I said, well, that's what Buddy told me. And so I said, go deeper. So he went down another 5 feet. He said, listen, Mike, I can go, I'm still only getting about 2 gallons an hour, 2 gallons a minute. He says, I can go deeper if you want, but it's just cost you money. You're not going to get any more than this. And he says, 2 gallons a minute is more than enough water. That'll serve you. You could put a fire out with that. And I said, well, I hope that never happens. But then he explained to me, I was down 180 feet by this time, right? He says every foot is a gallon of water, and the water was coming up 15 feet from the top. So what's that, 180 less 15 is 165 feet of water I've got. That's 165 gallons, he told me. He says, how long do you think it would take to pump 165 gallons? And I said, well, I don't know. He says, you know, like you use maybe 2 gallons to fill the sink to wash the dishes. You might use a gallon to flush the toilet. You know, you might use 2 gallons to have a shower. He says it would take you a long time to use 165 gallons of water. So he says 2 gallons a minute. He says even if you pump out 50 gallons from that column, you know, it's going to fill back in 25 minutes. And I thought, yeah, well, geez, that makes a lot of sense. So I said, okay, shut her down. So my well is 180, well, it's 185 feet deep because the drill point is 5 feet long. So 185 feet is how deep my well is. And I'm getting 2 gallons a minute, and knock on wood, I probably shouldn't say anything, but the water is excellent. There's no, well, it's a little bit hard, but there's no taste to it. There's no smell to it. Sometimes there's a, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes there's a smell on the hot water, but for the most part, the water is excellent. Tastes great too, you know, nice cold drink of water, really, really good. The well is here, so we dug a trench from here over I had built the expansion on the camp by that time, under this left front corner of the camp, and my well water comes up in there, and you see on the edge, on the wall there of the camp, just behind the Bronco, there's a tap, and that's a potable water tap. That water comes right off the well. It's not filtered or anything. We have a whole house filter in the camp, but right here, that's just unfiltered water. So we were pretty well looked after now. We had a well in for drinking water. We had the lake water for doing the gardens, because we used to do a lot of garden work then. We had wood for heat. We now have propane for heat. We have the heat pump to assist with the heat, and we have a good, qualified, registered, engineered, inspected, approved septic system. Anyway, that's turned into a long video. I'm sorry about that, but those are some of the systems that we have around the camp here to make it like we don't have to worry about anything. We just live here and have fun, enjoy it. Do any of you out there have, do you live on a well? Do you have septic systems? You know, do you have auxiliary heat pumps, heating systems? Do you have oil for heat or whatever? You know, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of our setup here, and have a great week wherever you are. And thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.